and welcome to our virtual teaching talks with centers that are gonna share a strategy that's working very well in their class and they can see positive results with their students.
Good. So my name is Tatiana, Math Department, and I'm teaching broad range of courses from developmental math to higher level college math and also statistics. And this group work in Canvas was really a long process to get there. You know how quickly we switched the modules to online modality, and I had to teach math literacy, 7-credit course. And having group work and worksheets and working together was essential for this course. On the other hand, that's a developmental course, so students are not proactive. They're shy. They haven't been doing math for many years. And working together sometimes was a challenge. So I kind of started with some advice because the group work I created really takes a lot of time initially to prepare your syllabus, to decide what you want to use and how to explain it. Many announcements I really explain over and over again because there's always somebody who doesn't get it or doesn't check the announcements and they don't care to go back and check all announcements. I send them a lot of reminders, step-by-step instructions to explain the whole process. And I also have come up with putting more instructions in each of the components. Like if they have to print an assignment, I put the word print. If they have to submit and I provide the upload link, I put the word submit. And my math colleagues with whom I shared that, they really like that idea. And then later on, I saw it on another video from another instructor. So I was glad I came up with that on my own. Other handouts, I had to put there how to scan documents because I'll give them paper to work on with math problems, but then they have to scan and submit through Canvas. So I keep on adding instructions or combining them so you can see whatever we share. Math instructors, we share a lot about good apps or how it works on Android phones versus iPhones and so on. Always be prepared to offer alternatives. Some students cannot print the paper, so I take a scratch paper, but I ask them to enumerate clearly so that I can find easily the problems. For instance, other instructors may involve whether they can use software to graph. I was surprised when students would use other software to build a graph versus doing it by hand because I thought they'll do it by hand. So now I had to put in the instructions, you cannot just ask software to do it. You have to come up with the graph on your own. Instructions how they can see the feedback because I grade it, I give them feedback, but then they have to go back to Canvas and see my comments. And set up reminders. All this really is a set of announcements I keep paused and I have them ready to use now, but it was work of many, many hours to come up with announcements that may be helpful to many people instead of asking me every time or each of them. So I'll go a little further here, just ignore that, but hold on, I'll try to locate just to tell you how my module for group work works like. And some of these parts initially they were separate. I had to, after I published my syllabus, I kind of realized I still need to work on it. So luckily my syllabus was written in a way that allowed me to combine. So I have group work discussion, and initially I had it separate. So just, I was thinking they can discuss their various topics. And then I have them to submit a file with problems separately. But then after the first time I did it separately, the first group work was something very low stake thing so that they realize how discussions work. maybe like introduction or some very general question. And then I asked them to submit online a document separately. Then I decided to combine them all together and called it a group work with including group discussion and a submission of handwritten work on problems I assigned. So I'll get to this slide, but I wanted to tell you how the first document will be the document I assign with questions for them to work on. Then I'll open a group work where they discuss at least half of the questions on this handout or more, but I have a kind of minimum number of questions they have to discuss as a group. And I also ask them, each of them to discuss, say, at least 2 problems. It depends how many problems are there. And then I ask them, the third item here is I ask them to submit their own individual handwritten work so they can use the group work to get some feedback and write solutions from there, but they still have to come on with their own solutions for other problems that are not discussed. I can also, sometimes I post a resource, a handout that they can use. And finally in this module, after everybody submitted and I graded and I contacted people who have not submitted to see whether they needed extension. After that, I post the answers. So this is my group work structure, and each component, unfortunately, or fortunately, it's in Canvas, but you have to get to different places to build. After I did 2 of them, it was pretty easy, but the first time, sometimes I would forget to put instructions here or there, or I learned to attach the file with the problems everywhere where it's possible, because not everybody initially would go to this home page and find everything there. So I was learning how to facilitate them. And it was a work really for the entire spring quarter. So I'm sorry, I'm coming here to the, okay. You might start that later or now, but at the beginning, I usually assign people in groups. I do that randomly. Like I randomly assign them in groups, and I change these groups maybe every 2 assignments. I like to keep them in the same group for at least 2 group works so that they already know each other. But sometimes I'll move people because sometimes I would get a group with 2 or 3 students who are not active at all. So I try to mix them to have enough students who communicate with others. Again, that was a lower level course, so students sometimes are not proactive or they wait until the last minute. In comparison with my statistics course, they're so proactive now. They're really very quick. They want to post early, they want to communicate, but math literacy students were not, I don't know, they were not so active. So you can create groups when you go to people in Canvas, and you may have to play with that, but usually you can create groups and you can name them different names, group work 1 or group work whatever you want to, but indicate that this specific assignment in groups is named in a certain way because you'll need that later. And you have to play with that. I learned that at Faculty Commons or one of these professional development days when they were talking to us how to split people in groups. And that is my first step. I already have the group for this specific group work. I have the group assignment. And then this is another step to create the new modules. A new module, I name it group work 1 or project 1, whatever group work that is. And I post all of these items related to this group that I showed you minutes ago. Usually this is the file of set of problems I give them with spaces where they put the work, like blank spaces for their work. I give them any handouts that may help them. Although they may be posted at a different place, I like putting it here too to group everything together. I have a group discussion. I have the link where they upload their answers. And later on, I post the file with answers. And I'll go back to the module as I showed you before later on. For the first item, we, at least most of math instructors, we have a set of problems, either as a worksheet or a group work or a homework. So I use the same structure, but again, I had to put more instructions because in class I can explain more, but now online I have to provide as much as I can upfront. I've saved this file in Canvas. I like putting the part print there so that they know this is the file they have to print. And I posted under this module, and an hour later, I have an announcement telling them that this is posted there and everything else. That's one item. Then I do create group discussion. If you have not done this, when you go to discussions and you create new discussion, you can pick over here, this is a group discussion. And this is the place where you can say what group assignment you like, say group work 1, GW1, as I showed you. So here is where you say this will be the group assignments. And anything else is like a usual assignment. You have the dates that are due and open and available. And you can do these settings as they fit your course. Yeah, here you can add the group name. I just did go one level further to tell you where you put the group assignment as you created it under people. I like to name each group, otherwise they're pretty standard, like group 1, group 2, group 3. Something that I have not done yet, but I do it in class. I like groups to choose their own name. That may be a prior activity where you can, if you plan to use the same group for a little longer, you can first ask them to let to know each other, low stake assignment, and pick a group name. I do that in class. They find one common thing and they come up with the name of their group. Online, that's also a possibility. I haven't done it, but what I've done, probably I named them something like give cover name for each group. I didn't come up with any other ideas, so I kind of stick to the cover names. I avoided some colors just for everything happening, like I didn't use white or black, but I tried to pick some good colors there. I also include detailed instructions there. The first time I thought, once I post announcement, they'll read it all, but as it seems, they start asking me questions. So I repeated my instructions. I put them under the group discussion, explaining what the expectations are, like minimum number of problems to be solved individually or as a group. Again, I learned to attach the file here versus expecting they'll go to the home page and print it. And I included this item in the module on my home page. So that is how it looks like. One of the group work I took from my course last quarter. A few items there. Now, grading the group work is, again, something I learned as I did go through all of these different components. First of all, when there is a group work, while there's a group work, I read and comment on students' postings. There were some groups when people were not active, then students would ask under this group work for help. Then I'll try to pitch in and help these students who were still waiting for other students. Unfortunately, many students kind of waited until last minute to post. Probably next time I'll have some other due dates to make sure they post as early as possible, but at this time I didn't do that. I left it for them to decide because everybody was challenged with the time and their different schedules. I send them reminders Even when groups were not active, I'll send reminders. Please read the group work. Other peers are waiting for you. And then I will remind them when the due dates are. And once the works were submitted, I'll use Speedgrader to grade the submitted files with their answers. Otherwise, for discussion, I'll give everybody full credit. But again, I make sure if they didn't post work for enough problems, I'll remind them that they have to work on 2 problems as they were instructed. So usually they would post as much as I instructed them to do. The last part is how I use Speedgrader to grade the work. I learned from some colleagues some good tips there, and I'll tell you about that. Initially, I just used the embedded pen in Canvas. So I go to Speedgrader, and now it's pretty nice and interactive. You can use the pen, pick color. And then unfortunately with the comments, you have to go to a box opening on the side of whatever place you circle, and then you have to type the comment. I've done this for a few quarters, so I'm glad that I started using the iPad with the Apple Pencil as an alternative because I like it much more. And I think that is better because students can see everything on the file versus reading comments on the side that I've heard working for some students. And I put that in another slide. So this is how it works with the embedded pen, what I had to do if there is something I wanted to comment or specify that they didn't do well or area of improvement, I'll circle with my mouse in the embedded pen, and then I'll kind of put here a comment. The problem is from some students I heard it doesn't work well on phones, smartphones, and other mobile devices. So they said this feedback is not coming well on their screen. And luckily, I put this here, some kind of feedback. They don't see well on iPhones, and they don't benefit much probably unless they use laptop or desktop. However, when I start using iPad and Apple Pencil, our work is automatically saved if I don't save it specifically. I mean, with the other way, sometimes I'll lose some comments I put there if my connection, I have internet interruption and so on. But with iPad, everything is saved there. And then I can say grade problem 1. I'm huge on consistency with math problems, how I grade it when I deduct, when I don't deduct. So I can just grade problem 1. And when I had papers, I'll do that 1 paper at a time, grade the same problem before I move to the second problem. So I could do here this on iPad very easily. I just switch to file to file very easily and grade the same problem. I just don't have to press done. Once I press done, then this work is saved and I have to start over again. So I'm losing to see on the iPad the works I already graded. And for consistency, I had to use my laptop to go back and change things if I decide to do that. And I like the iPad because it's really like I would grade the physical papers if I collected them in class. So let me show you, like when I graded this with a pencil, I kind of can put my comments on the paper itself as I would do like usually on paper versus a comment on the side of the file. So they don't have these issues with the comments I showed you before when the comments are not displayed or they kind of are not coming well and out of place. So this is how it works. And unfortunately, you have to have a Apple Pencil and iPad. I use my own iPad and I was able to buy a pencil later on. I think that's it. So are there any questions? Nope.
Tatiana, I was gonna ask you, and thank you so much for this helpful tip. Can I use the iPad and the Apple Pencil like to make comments in a paragraph or in a sentence? Can I use that in my Spanish class?
I would think so. You can write anywhere you want. See, I was able to change the graph. I was
Mm-hmm.
able to write here. So you have the pencil, so you can go any place you want on this file.
Yes.
Now, I would suggest you ask them for PDFs, because with the other type of files like PNG or JPG, sometimes it's not, I know sometimes I cannot do that. There was one student for whom he still looked like submitted PDF, but it was not PDF. So I never got to the bottom of it because the student would not reply to my questions. But usually for 99% of students that worked. Yeah, but they always surprise me when they said something in a different way, like a picture, glossy picture, but it still worked for most of them, except one student last quarter. Whatever he sent, I had to still type the comments or use the laptop, not the pencil. Something there didn't work well.
Thank you. Heidi or Z, I think you raised your hand.
No, I was giving clap to Tatiana.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Tatiana.
Hi, Blaze.
So I have a question. So when you're using the iPad, are you using the Canvas app, or are you using a browser and logging into Canvas using the browser?
Yeah, that's very important. I forgot to mention that I'm using the Teachers app. And then there I go to items I have to grade, and then it opens the Speedgrader there. So it's pretty friendly now with the app. I
Okay.
heard from colleagues, otherwise it will not work. But again, that may be not true, just something I think I heard from colleagues. They told me it has to be the Teachers app, and to be careful when you want to submit done versus not done. I had to play with that. I also learned sometimes I have to press the pen to activate it, and then to press the pen to deactivate it to be able to move to the next student. Otherwise, I'll be not able to move to the next student. So, but it's a pretty easy learning curve. And now I'm quite quick, but I had to learn a few things for the app too, to be careful. And I still supplement with the laptop sometimes for certain students. I don't think iPad sometimes does not rotate the file. I don't know why. I have to go to the laptop and rotate it. But once I rotate it on the lap, it's rotated on the iPad as well. Some small things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I was not able to figure it out. That's my fault. Maybe it's something that cannot be done as I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't think it's your fault, Tatiana, because I've tried the apps on my phone and on my tablet, and sometimes there are just glitches and they just don't work exactly correctly. And that's why I usually recommend students to try to use their laptop or their desktop machine to submit their assignments, just to be sure that their assignments come through. Because I have had students that tried to submit assignments on their phone or some on a tablet, and for some reason it didn't get through. So
yeah, but combination of laptop and iPad, interestingly, sometimes works. I rotate on the laptop, and then it's refreshed on the iPad, and then I can work on that. Heidi, did you have a question?
One of the reasons why I don't like grading online is because I like writing on papers, and I have no idea why it never occurred to me that you could do this. This is like blowing my mind that this is a thing I could have been doing. So thank you.
And I'm so glad the math department had these weekly meetings where we could share. So one of my colleagues who also teaches at Bellevue College School District, she mentioned that, and we were like, wow. And 3 or 4 of us, the next time we said, that worked so well, that saved us time. And it's very clear to students. So I'm glad we share, and even with that session we have now, without sharing, I wouldn't be doing it so efficiently. I'll be doing it like the old-fashioned way with the laptop. So, but you have to have an Apple and Apple Pencil. So you have to have the equipment.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you so much, Tatiana. I know we're going to be using this tip. I'm going to be doing too, because I'm getting bored. I'm using Canvas just to grade my students' work. Yes. Thank you. So now we have Z, and if you would like to share your screen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Tatiana.